Hello, and welcome to the LLG vlog, your fortnightly roundup of local government law and practice. You're with me, Dennis Hall, LLG Bulletin Editor, and as usual, Helen Bennett, LLG's Executive Director of Policy and Governance. Great to see you, Helen. How are
Lovely
you
to see
after the
you.
conference?
I'm a bit tired, but I'm all good. Yeah, I'm good.
Well, I think we should keep on the conference theme because today we're going to do something different. Whilst it's fresh in our minds, we will reflect back on last week's spring conference in Birmingham. And from the off, uh, as delegates arrived, there was a clear buzz in the air,
Yeah,
a sense of excitement, don't you think, Helen?
absolutely. There was, yeah.
Yeah, there was a sense of anticipation from the start of what we call today the LLG Spring Conference, but of course it has a long history and tradition and has evolved its various formats over the years. And I think the venue could not be bettered. The Eastfields rooms, immediately adjacent to the Marriott Loft Hotel, made for a perfect, seamless connection to the conference rooms and the huge exhibition room, all
Mm.
replete with the corporate partners, all vying for delegates' attention in one way or another. And Helen, I thought the location, I've got my geography right, it's just on the edge of the Birmingham University campus.
Yep, that's right. We could see
Yeah, I
some of
saw
that from there.
I saw the university buildings. Now I went down by train, and as I came out of Birmingham New Street into the sunshine, 2 sunny days we had, if you remember, for the conference, people were pouring out, and they were hit by a wall of sound of Caribbean music. It really made it very atmospheric. I didn't expect that, and I don't travel to Birmingham a lot, and it just made it a tremendous atmosphere as I emerged into the sun.
Yeah, well, the Spring Conference is LLG's signature event,
Yeah.
and it is our prestige offering to LLG members of all uh, PQEs, abilities,
Yeah.
and seniorities. So, and combined with the evening dinner and the awards ceremony, which was a fantastic event, and congratulations to all the winners, it
Hmm.
does represent the very best opportunity for learning, networking, and celebration of the very best in our
In
sector.
Indeed, no truer words could be said. And these are the reasons why today, um, Helen and I will share our experiences of this year. And who knows, next year we may see you there too. Now, this is only a snapshot of some of the sessions that we saw. But before I go into that, Helen, any general initial thoughts before I go through what I covered about the atmosphere, about the build-up to the conference itself?
Well, I just think, we knew people would be crying out to be able to get in a room and talk to like-minded people about the
Mm.
issues that they were facing. And that was really the impetus for us when we were putting together the program for all the big hitters and the big problems that we're all dealing with day to day.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's start with the opening of the conference. As in previous years, the conference had an underlining theme, and this year the key message was this is a profession at the heart of change. Structural reform, financial stress, political volatility, all these things you mentioned, rapidly evolving case law, reorganization, step changes in new legislation. The whole lot
Mm.
of it's hitting us at the moment.
Yeah, and our new president, of course, Helen Bradley, when she opened the conference, she did speak about a time of unprecedented change and multiple challenges, and that's right. And she did pose a central question within her speech: how do we sustain effective, lawful, and transparent governance in these extraordinary circumstances?
Indeed, and Helen's insights began with the view it requires more than technical ability. It requires judgment, confidence, and the support of strong networks like LLG. Helen, I thought Helen Bradley nailed it with some of the things she was saying here.
Yeah, her content was absolutely on point for the sort of we keep using the word challenging. It's a
Yeah.
it's a diplomatic word, isn't it? But the way in which we're going to have to navigate this or moving forward, excuse me, Helen did set out very clearly, and that opening speech is also available. It went out in the newsletter on Friday that we still managed to send out, as available on the website as well for people to take a
Mm.
look at.
Mm. And she made this important point, of course, structures need to adapt to this plethora of changes that are happening. And she also had something to say about the extraordinary, vast programs for the conference. Turning to the conference programs, 3 of them in total running simultaneously. Helen, I don't know how the team do it, to be honest. But she said this, the breadth of the programs reflects the huge scope of legal practice that is carried out every day in our sector. But remember, she said this, all lawyers are indeed governance lawyers too.
That's right. And she also said that in these times of change, good governance should rightly generate debate and strong leadership.
Indeed. And as to Helen's presidency, well, quite simply, she said she will do everything to support our profession. Frankly, I believe her from all of this. Very convincing and very on point, as you say. I really thought Helen Bradley set the tone, the right tone for the conference and for her year in office. What do you think?
Absolutely. It just got everybody thinking around the types of things that we were going to be exploring later that day. So it was great to
Yeah,
hear.
indeed. Now, someone not too far from the microphone today was involved in the first main session of the conference, Helen.
Well, that's true, Dennis. Yes, I was myself and Deborah.
And the first offering, I would describe it as a novel one. I would call it a double act, no less, or what Helen described, or what you described, Helen, as a reverse panel session. I hadn't
Good.
heard that phrase before, but that's exactly what it was, where they asked the questions of the people in the audience, the delegates themselves. So Deborah and Helen took control of proceedings with a mixture of badinage, blistering wit, and bounced questions off the delegates in quick succession. I hope you like that phrase. I worked on all of that over the weekend. Um,
Impressive.
a video took us through the key headlines of the year, the financial pressures, the legal challenges, LGR, elections, massive legislative changes, as I mentioned before, in relation to planning, employment, housing. A moment, I think, Helen, you described as a moment of seismic change. And the
Mm.
conclusion, the need to redesign our approach, not just to stand still. But how was it for you? What's your take on this session, Helen? It looked to me as though you were really full of busy with this.
Well, not all things in life go as planned, Dennis. And I can say that the first session didn't go as planned because we had a slight technical hit. But when you're on the stage with Deborah, the show must go on. And that's exactly what happened. And I think maybe we tipped the balance a little bit into, you referenced to double act. I think Morecambe and Wise was mentioned after the event, but it was nice to see people engaged and able
Yes,
to laugh during these difficult times. And we did, in fact, get some really good data back from the participatory audience.
yes. The questions, I think, were key to the responses that you got,
Mm.
weren't they? And the nature of the engagement, because everybody was plugged into this from the beginning. Um, I remember the first question, how does local government feel now? Do you remember what was said about that?
Well, it was exactly as we would expect. Worried and nervous and tense
Yeah.
and stressful and all those things we know that our membership are feeling.
Yeah. And which external factors affecting you most? What did we get from that?
Well, do you know, Dennis, actually that was quite a surprise because the biggest thing that came through on that was workforce challenges.
Mm,
We know they exist, but I wouldn't have
yes.
expected them to trump everything else. But that is something that's concerning people
Yeah.
most of the time.
And another interesting question that was posed of members, which upcoming changes are affecting their organisations most of all?
Yeah, you won't be surprised to know that that's about local government reorganisation, but also political changes were in there as well.
Yeah. And how prepared are
Mm.
organisations? And do organisations feel that change is being done to their organisations? Those were two questions that were interesting too.
And that was a bit of a mixed bag, but I think um, overall people felt less control than perhaps we would like to see.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were surprised by some of the responses. So other delegates will have learnt from all of this too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was a breathtaking performance. So you must have been whacked by the end of this.
Well, we were actually ad-libbing quite a lot of it by the time because of the technical failure.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't told you this before, but I spoke to several people after the session. One described it as a tour de force.
Well, that's very kind. And actually, I did get some lovely comments, as did Deborah from the membership. But
Excellent.
when you go to these things, everybody's rooting for each other anyhow. So
Mm,
but it was. Do you know what? It was nice to have laughter in the room. And there was one
yes.
gentleman in particular, and he's from Cherwell. And apologies because I can't remember his name. But right at the
Mm,
end, he reminded us all to find the positive in everything and to take the time to laugh
mm.
and to think about your well-being. And I was very grateful to him for raising that at the end and reminding us all it's not just doom and gloom. We can get
Yes,
through this.
exactly.
Yeah.
Positivity is key, and that I think always comes out of the LLG sessions. Now, moving on, there was the local government reorganisation panel. I watched this. Jonathan Goulden, Wilkins Chapman, and of course Owen Mapley, Chief Executive of the SIPFA, were there, two top speakers.
Mhm.
The key messages, Helen, on this, there were lots of tips about how to navigate through the difficult period of LGR. Key point was made, don't be distracted from doing the basics right. So said Owen Mapley. I think that was a key point. And he
Mm,
mentioned as well the importance of data when making decisions throughout the process of LGR. You need to have what he described as a forensic level of focus on detail to make the right decisions. And capacity. Capacity, too, is the main challenge throughout the process.
yeah, yeah, and that goes back to workforce challenges as well. But
Oh,
count,
yes.
absolutely, councils are struggling with getting to grips with new political administrations. So, Jonathan and Estelle, obviously Estelle's always
Oh,
with
yes.
us as well.
Estelle was there. Yeah.
From Wilkin Chapman Rollins as it is now. What did Jonathan have to say?
Well, yes. I mean, this is a key issue for senior officers, isn't it? The relationships between the new political masters that are taking over control of authorities. He asked the question, are we giving the new administrations respect for their new democratic mandate? That was an interesting one.
Great
And on the
question.
conflicts of culture between officers and new members, he described insurgent politicians uh, um, can be the most challenging because they value free expression in particular.
Mm,
These are things I'd never myself thought about, but undoubtedly true. And he pointed to some guidance to read on all of this. He said, you must read, if you're involved in governance, the report entitled Shattered Britain. And then there was a key case on relationships between senior officers and members, the case of Heesum. It's a Welsh case, Heesum, and the
yes.
Public Service Ombudsman for Wales. And he also referred to some key guidance in the Standards Commission for Scotland guidance on all of these things. But he summarised by saying this, culture always matters more than rules.
Yeah, I agree. But HESM comes up an awful lot when we're talking about standards, and anyone who's not familiar with that case should certainly take a look.
In,
Um,
in,
we had a session on new towns as well, didn't we?
We did. We're in the hands of Jessica Archinsky of Trowers and Lucy Webb of a consultancy firm, Inner Circle. I was particularly interested in this session, Helen, because since the government announced the development of new towns, things have gone dreadfully quiet.
Mm,
And this particular session, I felt gave the answers to why that might be the case. Finance investment isn't necessarily coming forward with the vigour and expectation that the government had. But something on the style of this, I was mentioning before we came on air, that something about the way that the style of some of the courses and sessions is changing. This was informal but informative in style. I think what they call these days a fireside discussion.
yeah,
Um, no more of the stand, talk, and delivered and listen type sessions. I think some of them can be like that, but this, I think, is one of the more novel and new ways of talking. So it was far more participative. This was a case in point on what I'm trying to describe here. And it's what delegates would want, direct engagement, participation, and interactive experience. And Jessica and Lucy went through some key points from past programs, the importance of engagement with residents, of course, people affected by these proposals for new towns in their area, these key issues about problems attracting investment, uncertainty about the plans that the government have is deterring investment. This is all learned experience, isn't it? It's not what you'd find in textbooks, and I think this is an important point. And both of them went through the different models of new towns that are currently being explored across the country, making reference to Thamesmead. There's a cooperative model being run at Middleton in Rochdale, and then there's another type in Ebbsfleet. Garden City trusts are being developed, and there's
yeah,
a development corporation, the traditional model for new towns being developed in Stockport. It was all interesting stuff and lift the veil on really one of the headline announcements that the government made about new towns this year, which, as I say, has generally been quiet in the news.
yeah. And in the afternoon, we looked at devolution in practice, didn't we? It was a great combination, expertise and experience on offer.
Yes,
And it was Capsticks, but somebody very familiar to LLG as well.
indeed. We for the bulletin, those who regularly read the bulletin, which I know you all do, we use many of the insights from Tiffany Cloyne's team at Capsticks. Very reliable and informative material. Um, They were joined by two. She was joined by two very experienced and well-known lawyers in the region of the West Midlands Combined Authority. Helen Edwards, of course, one of our past chairs, insightful and experienced and very knowledgeable as
Yeah.
ever, and her replacement, Karen Stockley, who is now monitoring officer and director of legal at the West Midlands Combined Authority. Now, Capstick started by taking us through the nuts and bolts of the legislation relating to combined authorities and how they evolved. And they distinguished some of the difficult things that we have to come to grips with combined authorities by distinguishing combined authorities from their neighbours, the county combined authorities, and how the legislation has changed for those.
Yeah.
And they spoke about the extended powers that would be invested in strategic authorities. We've covered this, of course, in the bulletin, and how combined authorities would benefit from those. Rebecca Gilbert, another of Tiffany's team, took us through the rules concerning new voting arrangements, membership structures, highlighting the new mayoral powers and changes to the general power of competence. Another member of the team, Megan Tam, very skillfully went through further the areas of competency of combined authorities. There are 9 in total, but in particular, she covered all the detail around planning, housing, economic development, and regeneration. And she also made reference to the new health duty that had been introduced.
Mm. Well, Helen Edwards, who's a past president, and also congratulations to her because she won the Significant Contribution Award to Local Government Law and Practice
Excellent.
At the LLG Awards. She's a vast amount of experience as a monitoring officer of the West Midlands Combined Authority prior to her retirement. And she talked through about how things looked on the ground and how combined authorities operate as legal entities. I'm losing my voice, Dennis, and it's firmly because of the spring conference.
And then, go on.
Well, Kieran Stockley, she explained about the makeup of the constituent councils in the West Midlands Combined Authority, and then looked at how the mayoral elections had shook the political table, testing the resilience of all aspects of governance. And she concluded with some important points that you need to be politically aware in this environment, and you need to have what she called, and I love this term, Dennis, political literacy.
Yes.
I think that was really great. So,
yep. Well put.
Yeah. And then we got a reminder about ethics, didn't we? We moved on to ethics.
Indeed. Now, this was fascinating from my point of view, Helen. As you know, I've been following the post office scandal and the inquiries and what undoubtedly will be an interesting aftermath to all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're part of the same family of in-house lawyers. We're all interested in ethics in terms of the environments in which we work, which are very similar, whether it's public or private. And we had the opportunity this time to hear from Dr. Jim Baxter from Leeds University, who's been centrally involved with the Law Society developing their ethical framework for in-house lawyers, which will apply to us, of course.
Of course.
He explained how this focuses on the core principles in organisational settings, demonstrating the importance of professional independence, integrity and accountability, and particularly in circumstances where our members might be managing conflicts. And for him, the key points are around independence and influence. Both are needed to work effectively in organisations. And Jim went into some detail on the scope and application of the framework, reminding us that all lawyers are custodians of ethical standards. Sharon from Milton Keynes brought a host of learnt wisdom on ethics in her role as MO, and she gave her personal insights about being a monitoring officer. She used this phrase,
yes. It's great phrase.
Monitoring officers need grit and grip. I like that. That
Yeah.
pretty much nailed it for me. And she also went on to describe and discuss the ladder of independence, how to be influential and maintain independence. That was the key issue.
Yeah, and in the question and answers at the end, I know, and it's by the way, it's always great to get an academic in the mix in all of these down at conference. But one delegate queried whether ethical training should be mandatory.
Yeah, well, indeed, and perhaps we were given a surprising answer to that. But on this point, I'll keep everyone guessing.
Mm-hmm. Well, it'd be interesting to know what everybody else thinks. Answers in the forum.
Indeed,
should ethical training
let
be
us know.
I know where I sit on that. I think it should be.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And then we had the delight, didn't we? Of we had Wolverhampton and
indeed.
we had.
Well, I think
McCourt. I think, and I was teasing Phil, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying, because he does like to go back to the 1800s to start the contextual elements of taxis. It's quite interesting, actually.
between you and me, this was not really about taxis at
No.
all. Very mischievous is Phil. Um, and for me, the day ended in what I thought was going to be a niche topic. Yes, I was fooled. I thought this was just about taxis, but it was a much wider and broader issue and frankly, much weirder. We all know about the Wolverhampton taxi case. They were inundated with thousands of taxi license applications. But why, you might ask? Well, all the answers were in this presentation. They had top people there from Wolverhampton City Council to explain the background to this. And they took us through initially the evolution of taxi regulation, yes, but then they explained how Wolverhampton came to find itself in the eye of a storm and what they did about it. And this story, this whole session was about the Wolverhampton interaction with government and attending a parliamentary committee. They
Yes.
had council officers there, Helen David Patterson and Shamsha Zadar. They took us through it was a unique experience of what actually happened at Wolverhampton and their interaction, as I say, with the government. What was it like to engage with and work with government on an issue of vast significance to all authorities? But I'm tempted to say this. I won't go into all the detail. I'll just leave it as a mystery. Will the recordings be available for members?
Recordings will be available for members who were able to come to conference
Well,
or online. But
let's tease our members, and that's the place where you'll find all the answers to this mystifying and extraordinary case of the Wolverhampton taxi affair.
but Dennis, this was just a snapshot, wasn't it, of the
Oh yeah,
sessions which we
yeah.
covered on the day, and there were a lot of specialist sessions because we had breakouts covering all manner of things, and we also had a separate bespoke provision for our junior members, which was great. And this year we managed to get out a lot of junior bursaries. So
Yes.
if you do want to come and you're a junior next year, please do pay attention to the application dates to get your bursary in, and you can come along because we covered hotel accommodation and the awards dinner as well. So it was a great offer. But I think for me, I mean, our new corporate partners, Landmark Chambers, Matthew Reed Casey came down and did a future of planning. So much going on in the planning world at the moment, and
Yes.
Anthony Collins was there as well. But we had PFI contracts, procurement changes with Brown Jacobson, local government reorganisation session, and that was about connecting people and policy. It wasn't just it was more the wraparound things you need to know. That was a great session with Michael Graham and Tanya Corsi from ICANN, who's always a wonderful addition to our spring conference. Very fascinating, great speaker, Henry Birmingham from Waitmans. He talked about the National CSE inquiry, very delicate subject. He does it so well, and he's so impassioned as well about that. And the juniors, they got to hear about soft skills from Sharp Pritchard. We did have a closed session, actually, adapting to new administrations, and that was with Claire Ward from Anthony Collins. That was standing room only, Dennis. And that was Chatham House rules. So we'll keep that quiet. VWV, Alison Cook and Lisa Kirkman, they did managing the vexatious litigant, and that was pitched at juniors, but something I know a lot of people struggle with in their day-to-day dealings. We had a big session on AI from Thomson Reuters because that's the future. And then we wrapped with Ven on career enhancement tips for junior lawyers. And I do think, there's going to be a lot of moving around with local government reorganisation, and people do need, and actually people at all tiers need to have a good think about refreshing their CVs, thinking about how they can perform at interview as well, Dennis. Actually, we might think about doing some more work around that as local government reorganisation moves forward.
Good idea. Excellent. As I say, as you said earlier, rather, and I did, we could only give a small snapshot from what we've seen ourselves at the conference, but there's such a wide array of things there, opportunities to learn about particular skills to do with CVs and so forth, but also knowledge, increase the stock of knowledge on all those topics that you mentioned. Now, the conference itself, the sessions, isn't the end of the matter, is it? Then there's the glitz of the dinner and the awards. Can you tell us something about that?
Well, just that it was such a fantastic occasion, and people, it was everything excitement and camaraderie, but also really quite emotional
Oh,
acceptance speeches as well. That has been recorded, that will be available for
mm,
members to watch as well. And it was just a really lovely coming together of everybody. And I could see real friendships being formed, on the dance floor afterwards, and everyone was letting their hair down. So, congratulations to everyone. We will
indeed.
be putting out a
Congratulations.
list of winners and photographs. Daria was busy snapping everybody, so that everyone will be able to see what happened, and also the winners themselves will get their photos and things. So it was a lovely, lovely evening, Dennis.
Yeah, well, many congratulations once again to all of the successful winners and for everyone who will have participated in the award ceremonies themselves and taken part and indeed organised it. Well, I think we've just about nailed it as far as we can today on this. It was a great session, a great conference, one that I would describe as superb. Great credit to everyone in the team. Well done. So that's it for this episode. We'll see you in a fortnight's time with more legal insights and updates.
Thank you, Dennis.